This is my 1-year update for my Jeep project. Since the last video, I finished the brake lines and fuel lines, front drive shaft, fuel tank, sending unit, fuel pump, and put the tub on the chassis, as well as moved the posi lock for the front end into the transmission housing. Installed a new steering column, which is a generic 32-inch street rod style steering column. Rebuilt the pedals for the brake and clutch. Completed my CJ heater box installation with the Chevy Blazer blower motor. Around this side, I put in a Tough Stuff dual diaphragm 8-inch brake booster with a Tough Stuff 1910, I believe, master cylinder. Summit Racing proportioning valve for the rear brakes, a new Luke brand clutch master cylinder. I did all the lines as well, and I did them in a way where the fender doesn't have to attach to the lines. This way, if I ever have to work on this, I could just pull the fender off and all the lines are still here. And the line for the brake master down to the brake slave cylinder is a Earl's braided 3AN brake line, which is the same that I used on the front end and the rear end for each one of the brakes, as well as the flexible line from the frame down to the rear ends. And I kind of changed the brake lines around on the front of this because the CJ grill sits down inside the frame rails, so I don't have a means to have a splitted brake line come up and across like the factory YJ did. So instead, I brought one line down to the center of the rear end, and then 2 hard lines over to a 3AN style connector over down to the flexible lines to the calipers. It's a similar setup to what I did in the back. So hard lines to the left, and then to the right, there's a tab right there bolted on, and that goes to the SpeedFlex Earl's line, and it's all -3AN. The fuel lines are 3/8 feed and 5/16 return, and I use Summit brand aluminum tubing with, again, Earl's fittings on either end for the compression. Up front there, the lower line goes up because I have to have room for the parking brake, which I still need to install. So that's why that bottom line isn't straight. And they're all held off of the frame with rubber isolated clamps. So there's no vibration issues with the aluminum. And this made the installation much cleaner compared to the factory style lines. It's much easier to service this, and like if you have to pull the tub off, it's very easy. In fact, even if you have to pull the, God forbid, if the fuel tank has to come down to replace something, it's built in the way where all the lines come underneath this channel, and you can do all your work right here and lower the tank without having to get on top of it. So I hope I never need to do that, but if I do, I'll be in good shape. And the fuel pump is a Walboro 255 fuel pump that I pressure tested before I put the tub on to make sure I had no leaks. The brakes are all bled, the clutch is bled, and like I said, the steering shaft is in. So now I'm to the point where I'm ready to start installing all the accessories on the front of the motor, and then start wiring. And at that point, I could do the interior and start it up. Lastly, I ended up shaving the top of the 5.3 intake, and then I finished it in the Raptor liner, which is the same material as the firewall and the inside and the bottom of the tub. and I chose to go with the color of the Jeep for a little bit of contrast. I'm not sure how I like it yet. Once I put all the accessories on, I'll see. Right now it's pretty ugly, but once the fuel rails are on, and the map sensor and all the vacuum lines and the drive-by-wire throttle body and the wires are up there, it might look nice. But if not, I could either paint this black or just find another factory style intake. I did shave this because I think I'm going to have a clearance issue with using the factory cover, because of the way the hood comes down and the fact that I moved this engine back to the farthest back mounting point. But I'm kind of far away from putting the hood on yet. I really want to run it and check for leaks, break it in for a while before I put that on. All right, there's a lot going into this project. I kind of spaced out my videos to include more portions of it and just giving a real quick high-level overview instead of a lot of detail. And if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments and I can get to them. And at the very end of the project, I plan on publishing a PDF file of all the different parts I used and the prices and what this whole project cost, because there's a lot of people who are interested in doing something like this, but might be a little intimidated by sourcing all the right parts and kind of budgeting for something like this. And I feel like if I could help somebody out who's trying to do something similar, then I'd be happy to do it. Okay, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know.